Welcome back to Your Net Profit. We'd like to thank one of our major sponsors, National Finance Club, specialising in providing lending solutions to borrowers via a national network of accredited finance brokers. NFC prides themselves on delivering product on time, every time. Offering Australians alternatives to the banks, NFC provide the security of bank lending with a flexible and personal approach.
Absolutely. Time for our next guest. They're just coming. It's like a turnstile, isn't it, for guests this morning? We have got with us Chris White from NAB, Homeside Lending. Chris, delighted that you could join us on Your Net Profit. Welcome.
No, thanks. It's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic.
Pleasure to be part of it.
Now, Chris, can you tell us a little bit about the benefit of using an offset account?
Look, I think we heard from some gentlemen before, Andrew, talking about how an offset account works, where basically you're offsetting the interest that you're paying. So if you have, say, to give you an example, a $100,000 facility with an offset account attached to it that had, say, $10,000 in it, then you're actually charged interest on $90,000. So you're basically making your money work for you.
Yeah.
Now, what about minimum thresholds? I recall in times gone by, many of the lenders requested that you had a minimum of 2,000 in there, whatever it might be, before the offset kicked in. Is that still
Look, good question. I guess I can only speak for ourselves and our own products directly, but we have no minimum threshold. So $1 will offset your loan. Obviously, there's not much benefit of offsetting for $1, but it definitely will start offsetting for $1. But I am sort of familiar with some other lenders' products, which I believe there are some threshold rules across the industry of different lenders.
Because what we used to find with that, Chris, was people would get pretty attracted, of course, by the product of offsetting, but you needed to have an amount of money in there for it to have any benefit, any real benefit. Whereas with your product, $1's working for you.
No, not at all. And it sort of seems to be at the end of the day that offset sounds great, but you really need to sort of sit down, like say, with your mortgage broker and get some professional advice about your situation, because you need to have some money to offset to make it work for you.
To work.
Yeah, definitely. Now, is an offset account useful to both owner-occupied and investment home loans?
Yeah, look, another good question, and I would say again it would depend on a customer's particular situation. Traditionally speaking, or generally, you want to offset the investment debt, the owner-occupied debt, because that's what we might refer to as the bad debt, as in it's debt that's not tax deductible. So what I generally see is if there's any surplus money sitting there, you're going to want to offset that against your owner-occupied debt to pay that down, and obviously leave your investment debt getting full interest charged so you can claim that on tax.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're talking about secured loans via property. What about personal loans? Are there such a thing as an offset against personal loans?
Not that I know of. I can definitely speak for National Australia Bank that no, we definitely do not offer that at all. Yep. There may be some facilities out there, but generally speaking, not so much. You can, of course, make additional payments into a personal loan, and then your sort of surplus money is offsetting the interest you're being charged, and you may well be able to redraw that back out, but not a transactional offset account attached.
And am I right in saying these days that there's no penalty for doing that? I recall, it wasn't that long ago that used to be penalised for paying even personal loans out quicker than you needed to.
Yeah, exactly right. I think sort of Grant said before, it really is only fixed rates these days where you get penalised for making additional payments. There's a lot of flexibility with especially variable rate products these days where you can additional payments as much as you like.
Is there a different interest rate with an offset account?
No, not at all, particularly with us, of course. Again, I can't speak for others, but we offer the product as it is, and to a degree the offset account is actually optional. You take it whether you want it or not.
Okay.
Which is interesting because I know a lot of lenders did used to have a differential between rates for offset accounts.
Of course.
What about the features of an offset account?
Look, again, you have to sit down, or advise every customer to sit down with their mortgage professional, get some advice about their situation, looking at sort of short, medium and long term. But particularly with our offset accounts, great transactional facility. So free and unlimited transactions through all your internet banking, branch access, ATMs and all that sort of stuff. So it really is like a day-to-day bank account that's making your money work for you.
Okay.
So if a client puts all of their income, say, into an offset account, do they still have access to their funds?
Yeah, definitely, and that sort of goes along what I was just saying, that you can basically do an income sort of flush where you pay all of your wages into your offset account, so it sits alongside your mortgage and that money's working for you, offsetting the interest that you're being charged. Yep. But you can access that money through an ATM or pay your bills online or do whatever you want with it, so you have full access to it.
That's pretty handy, I guess, because, you never know when,
Definitely.
registration bill comes in or something, an unexpected bill. It's good to be able to have access to it as well.
For sure.
We'll look at the budgeting show that we had on a couple of weeks ago. We're very, very hot on offset accounts and line of credits to make sure, as you're describing, that every dollar you've got is working for you.
Exactly right.
Finally, Chris, what about some tips for people that might be looking or considering an offset account?
Yeah, look, I think they're fantastic things. And just to talk a bit about my personal situation, I have an offset account that sits alongside my mortgage, variable rate mortgage, so it's offsetting. Wages will come into my account, and I'll basically make them sit there and try and spend all my bills and all my expenditure on my credit card.
Yep.
And then I'll obviously clear it out of my offset account at the end of the month. Again, I'd just say you need to really sit down with a mortgage professional, go to your broker, have a chat to them, let them understand that your specific situation and talk to you about your specific needs.
I guess because every situation is so different as well. So you've really got to personalise it. And that's why I think mortgage brokers, from what I've learned from being on this show, are so important to be able to discuss to your personal situation. We've just got an email in here, Chris, if you might be able to help us out, from Kerry from Wagga Wagga. Thanks for the email. Can you set up an offset home loan as a percentage of your loan, or does it have to be 100%?
That's a good question. I mean, speaking for ourselves, I was going to say it's a little bit tricky. Speaking for ourselves, if you've got one loan facility with an offset account attached to it, it will offset the whole facility. There's no way of sort of partially cutting that up. The only thing that you can do is have multiple facilities with one offset account attached to maybe one of those loans rather than across all of them.
Okay, yeah.
So
Thanks for answering that for Kerry.
And as you say, go to your broker. And I think the important thing I get out of this is get it right at the outset.
Definitely.
And then it'll work for you. So get it right at the outset.
Well, thank you so much for your time today,
My pleasure.
Chris.
Thanks
for
joining us.
Absolutely wonderful.
Excellent.
And it's time for a very quick commercial break. But after this, we've got much, much more. Thank you for being with us on Your Net Profit.